Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sticks and Spirits. This is the podcast where we explore and hopefully elevate the fine art of pairing premium cigars with exceptional bourbons, ryes, and eventually other spirits. I'm Tim, and whether you're an experienced enthusiast or just starting your journey, we're here to elevate your experience one pairing at a time. Today, I have an extraordinary duo for you, and I'm not just talking about this extraordinary duo. I'm talking about the cigar and the bourbon we've chosen. We chose these today because my special guest, Scott Osborne, but from now on known as Oz, this is his favorite cigar and his favorite bourbon. So go ahead, Oz. Go ahead and make the introduction. What are we doing today?
So we are pairing a Liga Privada number 9 with a Weller Antique. The Liga Privada, for me, has so much flavor. It's just from front to end, it's all flavor. It's so good. I don't know. I have not found too many more. I started out very light, a very light cigar, being the Rocky Patel Decade.
Right.
Just kind of an easy smoke when I got into it. And then I found these Ligas, and actually, one of my buddies got me into the T52s, which I was like, oh, those are amazing cigars. And then
the Liga
T52s. And then I believe you introduced me to the number 9s, and I was like, okay, that's even better. We've gone through a couple others, the 1899s, but this Liga 9 is still my favorite. It's a full-bodied cigar.
Definitely full-bodied.
It's got a lot of spice, a lot of flavor, at least from every time I've smoked it, and it just smokes well. It smokes really, really well. And then pair it with a bourbon like Weller Antique. It's 107 proof. It's got a lot of spice. It's a strong bourbon, but man, it pairs well. And even in their own right, they're my two favorite in their categories of bourbon and cigars. So
and today we get to pair them.
Pairing them's even better.
It's a treat, yeah. I'll get mine poured here. And today this is going to be more of a more of a contrasting than a complementary. Because, like you said, the Liga number 9 is a very full-bodied cigar. Tremendous flavor, but full-bodied. And we'll get into it a little bit more, but this is a wheated bourbon.
Yep.
And so even though there's a good amount of spice, that wheat gives you a little bit more sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
And that sweetness and that strength complement each other, contrast each other very well.
Yep.
Never get those words right. So as we get into it, and go ahead and light up, Oz, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of Drew Estates, and then the Liga Privada, and then the history of Weller, because that's always a fun thing to do. Drew Estates, very interesting story. Founded in 1996 by two frat brothers out of New York City, Jonathan Drew Estates, and Marvin Samuel. And they started very small with a 16-foot square kiosk just selling things in the World Trade Center.
Okay.
Outsiders, no Cuban heritage and no tobacco lineage, just a love of cigars and a lot of determination. Success didn't come easy, and so in 1998, Jonathan Drew, who's a crazy bastard, if you ever met him, you're going to see pictures of him up here, very fun guy. He made a bold move. He moved to Esteli, Nicaragua.
Okay.
Didn't speak English, didn't have any money, but he started building what would become Drew Estates from the ground up. He used to sleep on a mattress above an old factory, and they called him the Crazy Gringo. I think they probably still do. Marvin stayed back in Brooklyn raising money to send down whenever they could down to Drew. In 1999, something amazing happened. Drew Estate took a wild turn. Scott Acid Chester is an urban artist from Brooklyn. Urban art, industrial art, graffiti, and together they launched the Acid cigars.
That's from the Acid cigars? Okay.
And Acid is the first really well-known Drew Estate product. Really a game changer. And I'm not a fan of Acid because Acid's infused. Oils, botanicals, flavors.
They're not my favorite.
It's not what I enjoy. I enjoy the cigar, but it was great for the industry because it really got Drew Estates on the map. 2000s, they really started to find themselves. They launched Natural by Drew Estates, still in production, and it's more traditional. They reintroduced the La Viejo Habana after the hurricanes down there, and then they saw their brand in Forbes magazine as one of the newcomers, cult brands with Apple and with Harley Davidson. So they really had gotten had gotten going. Then, in 2007, they built their own factory, La Gran Fabrica, down in Esteli, and it's a crazy place. 96,000 square feet, the largest cigar factory in Nicaragua still, and one of the very largest in the world. I'm going to show you some pictures. It reflects the culture and the creativity and the craziness of the folks of Drew Estates. 2014, Drew Estates was acquired by Swisher Sweets.
Really?
That is an odd.
Yeah, I would not expect that.
That is an odd. Because Swisher Sweets is a drugstore, gas station cigar. Probably the acid part fit really well.
Yeah, I mean flavored.
Right. Infused.
Oils. Yep.
So yeah. So everyone else calls them flavor. Don't call Drew Estates acids flavored. They're infused.
They're infused. They have a flavor. That's not cigar flavor.
That's their preference. And obviously, a lot of people really wondered what was going to happen to Drew Estates when they were brought by Swisher Sweets. But in 2017, they brought Jonathan Drew back to run it.
Okay.
And, it's taken off since then. They're a great brand. They've got a lot of good cigars, and just only Rocky Patel has more different releases than Drew Estates does with all the different cigars. But the Liga Privada, which is Spanish for private blend.
Okay.
They originally created it for just the folks at Drew Estates for their private humidors, but it was so good.
It is so good.
And it's the way they do it. They've only got 4 pairs of producers that are allowed to produce at any one time. A producer is pair means one buncher, one roller.
Okay.
And each pair can only do 250 cigars a day. So when they're producing the Liga series, which is not all year, they can only do up to 1,000 cigars a day.
Oh.
The wrapper is a dark Connecticut broadleaf. And every time I think of a Connecticut broadleaf, I think of the very light shade.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Yeah.
But this is dark, it's oily.
Has such a great mouthfeel. Like
Yeah,
it just
it does.
it
It
just
does.
gets all on the inside and just holds right there. It's so good.
The wrapper is hand fermented, and that means it doesn't sweat. It's turned over and again, and it's aged just the wrapper for 18 months. So it really gives you a deep, earthy richness. Some coffee. I'm not the biggest coffee fan.
See, I like the coffee part of it.
It's not a coffee
heavy.
flavor. It's just a hint.
Yep.
And the mouthfeel is so good. Today we're smoking a Toro size, and for those of you who watched the channel before, you know that I prefer a 60 ring gauge, a big ring gauge. Well, first and foremost, they don't make a ring gauge that big. But secondly, for a cigar of this quality, having the smaller ring gauge is useful. So much of the flavor comes from the wrapper. Everything's important, but about 50% of the flavor comes from the wrapper. And when you have less tobacco inside, you're getting more of the flavor of this wrapper, and you really want to take advantage of that. This is just a great taste.
This is my favorite size. This is what I prefer to. I have gotten into like those H99s where you got me the bigger.
Because I don't give you a choice most of the time.
That's true. But if I'm just enjoying a good cigar, it's something like this size normally. I will smoke just about any cigar.
And it's a commitment, right? Because
Yeah.
you know this is an hour and 15-minute cigar.
Yes.
And some of my really good smoking Gordos, I mean, that's a 2-hour commitment. So, yeah, it's not just a experience, it's a commitment.
Yeah.
So inside of this Connecticut broadleaf wrapper is a Brazilian Mata Fina binder. It's grown in Brazil. That's why they call it Brazilian. The Bahia region. It's got great soil there. It's overcast most of the time, or it's shady most of the time. So you get another earthiness. It's a rich aroma. You can smell it. Subtle spice. It's a great compliment. And then the filler is they're Honduran and Nicaraguan Cuban seed, and made from tobacco's from 7 different farms.
Oh.
In different regions, everyone in a different region. So it's almost the opposite of the Puro we talked about another time, where everything's from the same. They pull together what they consider to be the best from everywhere.
That's what gives it so much different flavor and so much complexity.
They put this beauty together.
Yep.
Now we're pairing that now with your your favorite bourbon.
The Weller Antique.
Not just Weller.
Weller Antique.
It's Weller Antique.
Yep.
The Weller story is super interesting. So, William LaRue Weller came in the 18th century from Germany to Maryland, settled in Kentucky, 1790s, started distilling. He was a distiller over in Europe. The legacy of Weller is well known. So he was born, William LaRue Weller did not come over, the family did. William LaRue Weller was born in 1825, already into a distilling family. What he did that's so unique, and why probably you like this, right, Oz? He introduced wheated bourbon.
Yeah.
It had always been rye and other grains, and Weller introduced the wheat.
Yep.
And really, you like any bourbon like you like any cigar, but you prefer the wheated.
I do, which is, I love the wheated bourbons. That is, I will drink any bourbon, but I prefer a wheated bourbon, which is so weird because I hate everything else wheated.
Like
Can't do
pancakes,
Can't do beers,
no buckwheat
nothing,
pancakes.
no. Can't do beers that are wheated.
I agree with that.
But this bourbon is, and I've gone through most of the Wellers, and for some reason I always veer back to the antique if I can get it.
Well, it's the right proof for you.
It is.
Right,
It is.
107.
It's a little bit higher.
Right.
107s are at that perfect point for me, and it has just so many flavors in it, and it has the right burn for me, like in the right place.
And you like this better than even like the barrel proof, which can be more expensive.
Yep. I like this better than full proof. I like this better than 12-year. Obviously, I like it better than the special reserve, but that's because that's the one you can get if you can get any Weller.
Do we know if you like it better than William LaRue?
That's a tough one for me.
Have you been able to try that?
Yes. We tried that before.
Oh, we sure
We
did.
did try that. We tried that at the bar, right?
At the O Cigar Bar.
That is an
here.
amazing bourbon, and I don't know if I could pick between the two.
Well, the beauty is, call it 89 MSRP, but probably $100 to $120 secondary market, compared to $3,000 for a LaRue.
So much better.
And if you can't pick between the two, this is much better. Yeah.
Yep.
But the wheat really changed the flavor profile of the bourbon. It's a little bit smoother, a little bit richer. So the wheated bourbon got really popular very fast, and then in 1893, W.L. Weller hired a young man by the name of Julian
Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah. And that's a historic thing, right? Pappy Van Winkle is well known in the world. William Weller passed away in 1899. His eldest son George took over, and he merged his company with P.H. Stitzel Distillery. So now you recognize the name Stitzel Weller Distillery. But wait a minute, isn't Weller produced by Buffalo Trace and not Stitzel Weller? Yes, that's true, because after Prohibition, they finally stopped distilling and sold the brands to Buffalo Trace. The Weller brand, not the Pappy brand,
No?
by the way. The Pappy brand actually was invented after.
Okay.
Named after Pappy, but developed by his son and his grandson. But now it's a Buffalo Trace product, and good to get there. Stitzel Weller opened again in 1914, and at some point we may talk about their Blade and Bow.
Yep.
Which is what they're known for now, but Weller's under Buffalo Trace. And this was developed by Buffalo Trace. The 107, the Antique, not the Antique, but the Special Reserve, the 12-year and the 107. So Weller's a great bourbon. Buffalo Trace was a great producer.
Yep.
This is the 107, but just to let you know how popular the Weller brand has become, it's going to be a coin flip, which is going to be more expensive to find on the secondary market. William LaRue or Pappy. Both $3,000 to $5,000. So, what is it you like about this, flavor-wise, smell-wise?
So, what I love about this whiskey is on the nose, you get caramel butterscotch, a really kind of nice sweetness that you can get out of it. It's not really like pungent. It doesn't poke you in the face or hit your nose or make your like nose hairs tingle. But it just has such a good, like, like almost like a Swedish, like a sweet smell to it.
So 2 weeks ago, we put snacks when we were doing our movie show with caramel popcorn.
Yeah.
This
would've been
smells
amazing.
like
yeah,
caramel
this
popcorn.
Been great with it. It has great legs. Like, I mean, it has so much body. It's almost. It's not. I'm not going to say molassesy, but it's got like a thickness to it that you don't get from a lot of other.
Well, you definitely
bourbons.
see it. I mean, you
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
can't.
you
It
probably
quotes,
can,
coats
but
the glass.
As like a wine term, you would say it has great legs, and it just has the heat isn't like really harsh, but you get that warmth. It's just a warming sensation.
It's amazing at 107 proof how. I don't want to say muted or subtle because that doesn't do the whiskey credit because it's so good. But it feels like it's at the right proof.
Yeah. Well, and when you take a sip and you put it in your mouth and just hold it in your mouth for a little bit,
really good.
It gets all the spices up front. Like there's so much spice, so much flavor right in the front of your mouth, right in the front of your palate, and then it just goes to a little bit of a burn on the back end, and on the back side you get a little bit of that like caramel butterscotch flavor, but you get that spice right off the get-go.
And you get a nice long finish.
Yes, it
It
holds.
just stays on your tongue, and it stays pleasantly on your tongue. This is
one of those ones that you can just drink so slowly because it's going to stay with you, and you're not going to like be just reaching for that glass to put down a bourbon.
and the nice thing about the finish is when you want to then take the Liga 9, you don't have to get
yeah,
it.
you don't have to quickly like put a shot in your
You
mouth.
can just
and
take
then,
a nice slow.
Yep. And
Oh yeah.
man, that combination of that
It's
little bit of
so-
sweetness in your
so
mouth,
good.
and then the richness of the cigar, the wrapper and that earthiness of that cigar with that sweetness of that bourbon. It just it elevates both.
So these are about $20. And you know we're fortunate. We get to try a lot of cigars from $6 to even $30.
Yep.
And a lot of times you'll have a cigar and you'll say, you know what? They've got a $30 cigar. They got an $8 cigar. The $30 cigar is better, but I don't know if it's $22 better.
Right. Yep.
These are always worth the $22.
Oh, every time. I will spend $22 on those all day long.
Yeah, they're always worth it.
These cigars, for me, and because you've introduced me to this, they age better than almost any other cigar I've had.
That's a great point. So, you know, if you take a lighter wrapper, there's a similarity to wine, like you mentioned with legs. Cigars can age, and when you age cigars, you unwrap them if they're in plastic.
Mm-hmm.
These don't come in plastic because Drew Estates knows what they're doing with these.
Yep.
You have to keep them separate from your other cigars. So if you have a small humidor, you can just put a piece of cedar in between them. That's enough. And you unwrap them and you let them age. But the darker ones age because of the oiliness in the wrappers. The oiliness changes over time. If you do a really light cigar and age it, it really doesn't change, kind of like a white wine. But yes, this takes age so well. The challenge is always they don't come out that often.
And holding them for long enough to age them.
Can you hold them long enough to age them? Yeah.
And when you age them, it's hilarious because it almost looks like they get moldy. But that's the good...
Called plume.
That's a good plume that you get on it.
Yeah.
And the first time you hand it to him, like, what is wrong with this? And you're like, oh, trust me. This is going to be good.
Yeah,
And I think we were at Godfather's when you handed me one out of your bin that had been aging for like 18 months.
For 18 months.
It was just so good.
If you see what looks like mold on your cigars, and I'll add pictures to this, don't throw them away like some people do. That is a sign that you're ready to smoke that bad boy.
Yes.
The other thing about aging cigars, if you're interested in it, is if I buy a box of cigars specifically for aging, I actually let it sit in my humidor for a couple of weeks just to settle in and get used to the environment it's in, and I'll smoke one right away without aging it. And I'll make some notes in my database on my computer. And then starting at 3 months, I'll smoke one a month.
Okay.
And then what happens is I then know really what, for me, for my palate, what's the right amount of time to age this cigar, what's the right amount of time to age this cigar.
Yeah.
And aging it is a fun hobby, but it really does change kind of the characteristic of a cigar, amplifies some of the tastes. It's really worth it. It's if you can buy a box of cigars and hold on to most of them.
That's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. There are, typically if you get to 2 years, you've probably aged it enough. But there are really highly sought after pre-Cuban embargo cigars today.
Oh.
And they go for $10,000 or $20,000 and they're collector's items. And I get it because you can't spend $10,000 on a cigar for an hour and smoke it. But I can't see having a cigar like that and not smoking it.
No, it's the same thing. As like I have a hard time spending a ton of money on a bourbon because I'm gonna want to drink it. I won't sit on that. I won't sit on a really expensive cigar. I want to know what it tastes like. I want to know what it smokes like. I'm now intrigued. But then again, you're also smoking a $10,000 cigar.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. But that again, that shows you those cigars are the embargo is 1962.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 60, 65, 70-year-old cigars that people are really dying to get their hands on. So, so there you have it. So, any closing thoughts on this fantastic pairing?
No, I mean, other than the fact that this cigar just gets better the more you smoke it.
It just gets better.
The first third is great, but you get into that second and third, like the last third of it, and it is just, the flavor doesn't stop.
Yeah, so our commitment to you, I've said this a number of times, we'll have to do this one time. One of these just cigar and bourbon pairings that we talk about will actually come on into that second third and another time into the third, because we always light up and start that way, and we're always describing the first impression. But every cigar is 3 cigars. It's the first third and the second third, and then again as you're drawing smoke through it, that when you get to that third, it is such a different experience.
It's hotter. I will say that.
Yeah, but but I don't. This one doesn't get hotter. This one gets fuller.
Yeah.
Some get hotter.
Yep.
And I'll end with this this thing then, because a lot of people ask the question, when can you put out a cigar?
When you're done.
And that is the answer.
That is what I've learned from my buddy Tim.
When you're done.
A cigar is done when you're done with it.
Correct.
I have buddies that'll smoke it till it burns their lips.
Well, they think they have to, or maybe they enjoy it to that level. And if they enjoy it to that level,
more power to you.
That's fine.
But
for me, it varies on the cigar. If the cigar gets hot, I'm pretty much done with it. If it gets too hard to draw.
Fire. But yeah, you're right. A cigar's done when you're done.
When you're done. So that is kind of the theme of all that we do. Is we like talking about it. We like sharing it with you. It's the bourbon you like. It's the cigar you like. It's the way you want to pair them. It's the way you enjoy them.
Yep.
And if our experiences can help you figure out what you enjoy, that's great. But don't let any of us, bourbon and cigar snobs, tell you how you have to enjoy your pairing.
Yep.
So this week, join us for our next release on our movie pairings, and we'll be back again sometime in the next week or two with another just bourbon and cigar pairing. And I keep saying bourbons. Eventually, we got to get into tequila because people like that.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one.
And eventually, we've got to do a rum.
Yep.
And eventually, we'll do a beer. But we're never going to veer too far from our roots.
Yep.
And that's bourbons and rye. So
that's because cigars go great with bourbons.
They go great with bourbons.
I will say they also go really good with rums, but
they do. We'll talk about that when we get to it. So until next time, keep your sticks lit, keep your spirits high. Cheers.
Cheers.